confirmed night owl, always staying up till the wee hours into the morning to finish projects or sometimes just to watch favourite horror movies. His small apartment was his haven of modest comfort, a quiet retreat from the world. Not much different tonight. Thumping rain outside the window, he burrowed into his worn leather chair and took his mug of coffee in hand. He had just turned into a new movie when his phone rang. He looked at the screen. Unknown caller. Jake rarely ever got calls this late, much less from unknown numbers. But curiosity got the best of him. He paused the movie and answered. "Hello," he said, very relaxed. At the other end, there was no one. Only a slight crackle, as if someone had picked up but wasn't speaking. He held on for a few seconds before hanging up, then dismissed it. Wrong number. After the movie turned back on, Jake couldn't shake off the feeling of eeriness left by the call. His mind was just playing tricks on him, he thought. Too much horror was making him paranoid. But as the movie reached a tense scene, his phone rang again. Unknown caller. This time he hesitated. The feeling of uneasiness surmounted. He answered, tucking the phone in at his ear. "Who is this?" he inquired again, this time his voice a little firmer. There was a pause, then a low, distorted voice whispered back, "I'm watching you." With an underestimate of basic instincts, Jake suddenly felt acute awareness flood in for each shadow and each sound. It had to be some sort of a prank, he lied to himself, trying in vain to shake the crawling dread off his spine. He ended the call and flicked all the lights on, chasing away the dark corners that seemed to enclose on him. Minutes crawled past, and Jake tried to think about the movie that was projected in front of him, but his mind kept drifting back to the call. He got up again to check out his door, again, for the tightness of the locks, then went back to his seat. Again the phone rang. Unknown caller. Jake's pulse quickened, but he answered. "What do you want?" he demanded, trying to still mask the quivering in his voice. The line at the other end was silence. Jake could feel goosebumps all over his skin as he held on for somebody to speak. Finally, the same distorted voice whispered, "I'm closer than you think." Jake stood upright from his chair, his first action reaching for the windows, which were, of course, locked down tight, the rain streaking down on the glass. He was alone, or he hoped he was. A loud creak resounded from the hallway outside his apartment. He became silent, staring on at the door, when the knob started to turn, very slowly indeed, as if someone on the other side of it was pushing to open it. A chink in the door opened into darkness. Jake reached out for a kitchen knife, his hands shaking, and moved cautiously toward the door. Every fibre of his body wanted to scream at him to get out of there, but he had to know what was on the other side. The door burst open and a man stepped into the dim light. Tall, with his face mostly shrouded in a hood, he held a phone to his ear. It was then that Jake realized the man across from him had been his caller. The knife felt useless in his hand against such overwhelming terror. "I told you I was close," the man said. His tone wasn't raised, but it was calm and threatening. He took another step, filling that small apartment with his presence, which flapped with doom. Jake backed off, quickening his breath. "Get out!" he yelled, holding the knife out in front of him. But the man still did not flinch. He just smiled, a twisted, cold smile that promised pain. In a rush of adrenaline, Jake charged at the man with the knife. Before he could strike, the intruder, exhibiting strength that was truly terrifying, wrung his wrist around in such a way that the knife clattered onto the floor. Desperately, Jake struggled and kicked, but he was no match to the man. He felt himself going down, and with it, his strength seemed to ebb as the man tightened his grip on his throat. The last thing that Jake saw before everything went dark was the man's cold, emotionless eyes staring down at him. The police no evidence of a struggle. There was simply no evidence of Jake. His phone lay on the ground with its screen cracked, yet still connected to Sakul. At the other end was an extended period of silence.